It's like, that's what we want to avoid. Eliminating verbal noise that create distractions and make you seem maybe just a little bit less serious, a little bit less competent, a little bit less intelligent. None of that is true, of course, but perception is reality. So what we want to work on is the tendencies that almost all of us have. I know I have it tremendously, which is to use verbal noise, and those are things, joining words usually, that fill in pauses. Things like that, or other tics like that. It's not always obviously that sound, but tics like that, noises like that. That's what we want to try to eliminate. It's better just to have a pause, to just wait, and maybe even make it look like you're thinking for a moment. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a benefit. Now, I realize that in our personal lives or in our normal day-to-day lives, that may be difficult to do. But when you're in front of a client, though, when you're in a client situation, as I've talked about before, you want to make them the center of attention, but you're the one that shines the spotlight. So they're the star of the play, and you're the one with that big spotlight that's always shining it on them. Because the expectation is that you're going to make yourself the star of the play. That's what salespeople generally do. You don't want to do that. A related metaphor you might want to use, that I use a lot, is you're in a jacuzzi together, okay? In a hot, warm, very comfortable, calm, relaxed jacuzzi. And with your behavior and the words you say and your facial expressions and your gestures and your body language is what dictates the current and the temperature of the water. So in my mind, I always felt like I had this warm bubble around myself and the prospects, the clients, the person I'm talking to, and everything I'm doing is a gentle movement of that jacuzzi. So even if I don't want to rock the boat, even though sometimes I need to disagree. I need to answer their question in a way they may not like the answer, what have you. And how this relates to verbal noise is when you have, even I just did it now, right? Is when you do that too much, that creates ripple effects or stress marks, if you will, in this warm jacuzzi. So I always thought in this metaphor is what keeps this jacuzzi warm and comfortable, and what makes it cooler or cold and stale and no good, not comfortable. And this is just one of those small things. You're not going to make or break a sale or get someone to like you or unfortunately dislike you because you're using a lot of ums and ahs and whatnot. It does take away. And when you can, it's actually a good thing if you need, like I'm normally a fast speaker. So when I speak to a client, I very hard work on say I'm doing it now. I work very diligently on slowing down because it'll help me eliminate my verbal noise that I have a lot of. But it also creates pauses. It forces me to pause and think for a moment to put my words together. And I've learned that that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to have a pause. You don't need to fill silence all the time. Silence is the most powerful pressure. There's a whole technique about how you can create silence to make them respond to a question or to a close or to an advancement. We're not going to get into that. That's not the purpose here. What I am saying is it's okay to have little beats of silence. You don't have to fill them with ums and ahs. If they ask you a question, you're legitimately thinking, you don't have to go, You can just, or you do one, Okay, you don't want to basically you don't want to create this appearance of a nervous tic, because the bad word in that is the word nervous. You don't never want to appear. You can appear to not know an answer, and you admit it. But nervousness and uncomfortableness, and it all makes that sense of incompetence. So you want to work on all those verbal fillers that don't mean anything. They're words that have no, and you know what they are. You can figure them out. And as society changes and advances, they change, and people use different things. So what I don't know, you might watch this video the day after recording, you might watch it 10 years from now. It's the truth will still stand, but that we may have different words in our society. So you know what they are. So the first thing to do to fix it, it's very simple, is acknowledgement and is recognition that you do it. And related to that is I want you to start listening to other people's conversations, ones you're not a part of. Like maybe you're at a restaurant, you're standing in line somewhere, what have you, and you'll hear most people, much of the time, use some kind of filler. Or they have a stumbling way of saying something. And you want, now of course they're just chatting in a relaxed way. Maybe when they're in a more serious business situation, they may speak a lot better as well, to give them credit. However, my point is that you can, if you hear it in others when when the spotlight's not on you, you're not in a stressful situation, it's easier to pick up on it. And then you can start seeing it in yourself. And when you catch yourself, the first thing to do is to try to just pause. Just when you catch yourself doing it, just pause. The second thing is then just literally is practicing it. But I also want you to think about not just pausing, but what other words you can use. Or it's okay to have some fillers and some words. It's just like with techniques. You can't use them more than once or twice in the same setting. You can even do you can do that because it can be used for a little bit of a dramatic effect. But if you're doing it all the time, if every time someone asks you a question, your first response is, let me see. If every time they ask you a question, then see, once they notice it, that's when it's no good. Same with a sales technique. Once they notice it, it's over. That's why each technique can be used once, maximum twice in a setting. And it's the same. These aren't techniques, but it's the same. The principle applies. It's okay to use. I don't want you to beat yourself up if you use it once or twice, but you have to be aware of it, right? If it's a nervous tic or just a kind of a habit that you have, you're not even going to know you're doing it. But other people, when they pick up that you're doing it, then it becomes annoying, and that's what you want to try to avoid. Okay, and that's it.